I think we can all agree that Spider-Man Brand New Day looks pretty amazing from the first trailer, but here are things that I don't want to happen in Spider-Man Brand New Day or else it will ruin the movie. First of all, I do not want Scorpion to just be like a minor side villain that's just kind of dealt with pretty easily early on in the film. This guy needs to be like either the main villain of the movie or the second main villain of this film because we have been waiting for this for so many years. Like by the time Brand New Day comes out, the Scorpion post-credit scene from Spider-Man Homecoming will be 10 years old. If they finally bring him back after all this time and have Spider-Man deal with him in like an opening montage where he's dealing with a lot of the other like lower tier villains like Boomerang is going to be very disappointing. Speaking of villains, the second thing I need this movie not to do is repeat the same mistakes of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 and focusing on way too many of these villains. We already know there's going to be like at least 7 of them in the film, which honestly kind of feels like a recipe for disaster. Like we got Spider-Man fighting against the Hand, we have Scorpion, Boomerang, Tarantula. We can assume that they're likely going to be dealt with in an opening montage. Then we still have Tombstone in this movie. We know the Department of Damage Control is playing a big part, and at the same time, we're probably going to be acting like Jean Grey is a villain for at least the first half of this movie. And I'm fine with all these characters being in the film to kind of just build up the world a little bit, tease things for the future, and again, just make the streets of New York City feel more alive. But once we get to like the second half of the film, we need to pick like one or two of these villains, make maybe Scorpion in the Hand or whoever's leading the Hand, and just make sure the plot stays focused on them because otherwise it's going to feel really messy. Switching up from some villain talk for now and getting to more just story details, another thing I really don't want to happen in this movie is us to pretty much just repeat the plot of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. If you don't know, in this movie, Peter Parker pretty much loses his powers and it's kind of representative of his inner turmoil he's going through right now. And that is a great storyline in a great superhero movie, but I just don't want to see the same exact thing play out again. And we have the scene in the trailer where obviously his DNA is mutating in this film, and it seems like Peter's losing control of his powers in a way. I am fine with us going in the direction of like, oh, his powers are changing. Maybe he gets the natural web shooters. Maybe he's becoming stronger, or we go full out insane with like the man spider theory where he literally is just turning into a monster or something. Any of those routes with the story, I'm fine with. I just feel like if we do the thing where he literally loses his powers again, it's just gonna feel like we're watching Spider-Man 2 all over again, which again, great movie. We just don't need to redo it. And I should say, I am fine with this like representing the change that Peter's going through in his life and this time of darkness and stuff, but I'm kind of hoping that when we get to the end of the film, the powers don't just go back to normal, however they change, whether that is him losing them or them becoming more powerful or him literally becoming half monster. I hope we keep this going forward for the future of this next Spider-Man trilogy and his next appearance and maybe the Avengers films. I feel like that could be a really interesting angle to take. Now let's talk about some things with Sadie Sink's character in this film because we're just going to assume she is Jean Grey. All the evidence points to that. I've been thinking this for months now, and every single insider seems to be backing up this claim that she is in fact going to be Jean Grey, aka the Phoenix, one of our first true X-Men in the MCU. One of the things I really do not want them to do in this movie that I kind of teased earlier talking about the villain section is to make the audience think, oh, Jean Grey is the main villain of the movie for the first half, only for it to be revealed that, oh no, she's actually a good guy that's working with Peter. If you're wondering why I even think this might happen, if you didn't know, when we got the first leaked version of the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer a couple weeks ago that had lots of similarities to the official one that released, but they did change a lot of things as well, there is a shot of Sadie Sink's character talking to Spider-Man being like, hey, if you don't stay away from me, I'm gonna hurt you and all your friends. Like, we can assume that she's acting like this because she's probably being hunted down by the Department of Damage Control in this movie because we see them in Wonder Man. They're hunting down Simon because they can sense that he has some different mutant-esque powers. Seems like that's going to be their thing in the MCU, going after mutants. But the thing is, almost all the people watching this film, I feel like, are gonna know that, oh yeah, Jean Grey is not a villain. It's not gonna be like a satisfying twist to be like, oh no, she's not the bad guy. The thing is, we already kind of did this in Spider-Man Far From Home with Mysterio. Like, he is one of the most famous Spider-Man villains of all time. So doing the thing where you bring him into the film and it's like, oh, he's this superhero for the first half of it. It's like, yeah, there's obviously a decent amount of the audience that has no idea anything about the comics and they will be surprised, but I just feel like it's something very lame to do. And before we move on from Jean Grey, one more thing I need this movie to not do is just ignore the fact that, oh yeah, mutants are just randomly happening in the MCU now. Like, I know legally the reasons that mutants were here is because they were owned by Fox when the MCU started, but I feel like I need an in-universe reason of why just now people are being born with powers. Like, I just assumed they were going to explain this away in the next two Avengers movies in like Secret Wars or something, be like, oh, they're coming from this different timeline or something, but I have no idea how they're going to explain the mutants just now coming into this Marvel Marvel Universe. Now, we got a whole lot more to get to, but quickly take 1 second and drop a like on this video and let me know in the comments below one thing you don't want to happen in this movie. Moving on, another thing I do not want to happen in this movie, I've been saying this since the ending of No Way Home, is I do not want Peter and MJ to get back together immediately in this film. I feel like it will really cheapen the sacrifice that happened at the end of that last movie. And I understand this movie is taking place 4 years after No Way Home, but this is still the first time we're seeing Spider-Man since then. I feel like we really need to just see a solo journey with him. And in that first trailer, I know MJ and Ned are all over it. I'm fine with them being in the movie and them just like not remembering Peter and him kind of like hanging around, keeping tabs on their lives or everything. But I do not want them back together in this film. My one exception will be if it's literally like the last scene of the entire movie. Like I'm talking, oh, she remembers Peter now somehow, and then we just cut to credits or something. That I'll be fine with because we still at least will have gotten like a full movie of solo Peter. But if I had my choice, I would still say just keep them separated in this movie, leave it for Spider-Man 5. Like obviously Zendaya and Tom Holland, they're getting married. They're two of the biggest stars attached to this Spider-Man franchise now. They're going to get back together at some point. I just don't think we should rush it because I also think it's going to be very difficult to have them get back together in a satisfying way. Like we see in the trailer, it seems like MJ and Ned are trying very hard to figure out who Spider-Man is. So it seems like they still remember like being friends with and interacting with Spider-Man. They just forgot who Peter Parker is and that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I'm hoping that they don't just end up resolving it by having Peter like just straight up tell her everything that happened, or God forbid we do something like another spell to make them remember. That would be terrible. But I think if you let those characters figure it out on their own throughout this movie and part of the next one, then it could actually be really satisfying and really sweet to see them get back together after all this time, especially with that whole element of being like, oh yeah, MJ knows something's off and she's desperately trying to remember this guy that she can. Moving on, another thing I don't want to happen is to just not tease Kingpin whatsoever. Now I know earlier I was complaining about there being too many villains in this movie, and I'm not saying I want Kingpin even to be in this film, but we definitely need to tease that he's maybe behind the scenes doing things, pulling the strings on some of these villains, whether that's one of them or Scorpion maybe just like having an anonymous meeting with someone that we can infer is Kingpin, or maybe it's the post-credit scene of this movie. I feel like we're building towards it. Like I know the rights are very complicated with these different characters trying to get them in Spider-Man movies, but I know Marvel can pull it out and do it. And like we already know that he's not going to be the mayor of New York anymore. Like the showrunner for Daredevil Born Again came out and said like, oh yeah, by the end of season 2 he's not going to be in office anymore. This is the end of his political arc. And we know that in the Spider-Man trailer we see a different woman handing Spider-Man the key to the city. So this is just confirmed at this point. So I'm thinking whatever's happening with him losing office maybe pushes him to the edge and he just goes full-blown insane trying to hire some of these villains, deal with the bigger threats instead of just Daredevil moving on to Spider-Man. So like I said, I don't need him or even want him to even show up in this movie, but I just need some sort of teaser to confirm that, oh yeah, we're getting to him in this next Tom Holland trilogy. Also, please do not hold back on the swinging scenes in this movie. Like it seems promising from what we've seen in the trailer that it's going to be way better than the previous Spider-Man trilogy, but we really need to just get some prime Spider-Man swinging around New York City scenes that actually look incredible visually. And I know my fan base, I know you guys want me to say Black Cat because I know what kind of men you are. But honestly, like I said earlier, this movie is already overstacked with characters, even though before we knew anything about this film, I did really want her to be in this film. I thought it would be perfect with Peter and MJ being separated. I do think it's a little overcrowded now, so maybe save this for Spider-Man 5 or 6. Could still be an interesting dynamic between Peter and MJ, and then like the Spider-Man side of him maybe falling slightly for Black Cat. So drop a like on the video and let me know in the comments below one thing you do and don't want to see happen in Spider-Man Brand New Day. If you want to hear a crazy theory about Peter turning into a monster and dying in the movie, click the video above my head right now. It's a wild one, and thank you so much for watching.